chance for the romances in her life. But there's one man that she'll ride on. That's Benjamin. Ooh, she switches when he's in town for Benjamin. Benjamin gets so sexy when he's around.
Station is ready to rock.
If you found that one, she'll do it. Small time. Yeah. She has no one to share all her beautiful feelings with. Ooh, no. Seems like everyone around her so figured out a fit. Yeah. Ooh, no. Trying to find the one that she can make the best of it. Ooh, yeah. But it's so hard to find her a lover that she can click with. Ooh, no. So she dances and she dances through the night. Oh, yeah. Lap dances and she dances through the light. Oh, yeah. No chance for the romances in her life. But there's one man that she'll ride for. That's Benjamin. Ooh, Benjamin. She switches when he's in town for Benjamin. Benjamin gets so sexy when he's around for Benjamin. Benjamin. Oh, you should see the way that she smiles for Benjamin. If she could have it her way, her last name would be Franklin. She loves him. She loves him. She loves him. If only she could love someone the way she loves Benjamin. If you found that one, she'll do it. Smart time. If you found that one, she'll do it. Smart time. If you found that one, she'll do it. Smart time. Please, please love me. She said she just got so used to just busting it open. She said she just got so used to her heart being broken. She said she just got so used to these niggas just gaming. She said, but that's the life that come with a girl entertainment. Ooh yeah, no longer want to be free now. Free now. Wanna vindicate her needs now. Needs now. She just wanna be treated just like a princess. Yeah, but we'll only let one man do it. That's Benjamin. Ooh, Benjamin. She switches when he's in town for Benjamin. Benjamin gets so sexy when he's around for Benjamin. Benjamin. Oh, you should see the way that she smiles for Benjamin. If she could have it her way, her last name would be Franklin. She loves him. She loves him. She loves him. If only she could love someone the way she loves Benjamin. If he dropped to the floor, she would pick him up. If they came to get him, she won't give him up. He's the reason why she could just live it up, yeah. She love the lifestyle like they get him up. She's only loyal to the only man that she ever knew. Will never leave her for you. Even though he be switching from hands, and always in somebody else's pants. And you know he's not the only man, just like you're not the only one man. Everybody love Benjamin. Ooh, Benjamin. She switches when he's in town for Benjamin. Benjamin gets so sexy when he's around for Benjamin. Benjamin. Oh, you should see the way that she smiles for Benjamin. If she could have it her way, her last name would be Franklin. Benjamin. Benjamin. She loves him. Benjamin. Benjamin. She loves him. Benjamin. Benjamin. She loves him. Benjamin. If only she could love someone the way she loves Benjamin. 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 If you found that one, she'll do it. Smart Benjamin. Benjamin. If you found that one, she'll do it. Smart Benjamin. Benjamin. If you found that one, she'll do it. Smart time. Benjamin. If you found that one, she'll do it. Smart time.
Power Reggae Radio. Power Reggae Radio. PowerReggae.com. I want to give you your flowers right now on the spot. I want to give you your flowers right now on the spot because you when you first came on the scene, the way you stormed on the scene, it was almost like you gained the status that people respected your work ethic, they respected your work, etc., etc. But the way you coming back, man, it's just straight fire.
Nah, thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
It's just straight fire. The video for Benjamin is also online as well.
Yeah, the video for Benjamin is online right now. Which is crazy. It's like a small mini flick with 3 videos connecting each other.
Ah, boy. And this is off of the Connect album.
It's off of the Connect album.
See, this man has so much music coming for you this month. I skipped over the Latin project. I got straight to the Connect. Pardon me for that.
No, it's all good.
The sound, it's that sound. When you hear the record, it's that vibe that you've been missing, that feel that you've been missing. Like Akon is back.
That's what's up.
Tell us a little bit about that Benjamin record, the production.
Yeah. So that record was produced by myself and Bishop. So it was one of the records I kind of had for a minute, you know, and the whole idea of that record was just how, you know, today's woman is more in love with the man, Benjamin, you know, than the man himself. So money just seems to be the driver of every woman's, well, not every, but most of our generation as far as what they look for in a man. It starts with, okay, what can he do for me? Is that security line for me if I, you know, go ahead and give him that piece or whatever the case may be? And it's never been focused too much more on the substance of what the relationship is that holds it together long term. So I've kind of just experienced how money kind of plays that huge role in the thought of the choice. You know what I mean? So I kind of felt like I had to write about that. You know what I mean? And that was just experiences from what I've experienced. And ultimately it just became one of those things that's like really relatable on both sides of the coin. You know what I mean? Because most women feel like if they're independent, they can take care of themselves, they don't need a man. You know, so it creates that competition piece in between. And it's only that one dude that plays the referee, and that's Benjamin Franklin at the end of the day. Whoever has him wins the war.
Facts. Okay, so that video is also online. Before we get into more music and stuff, we already went through 2 genres.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to touch on was the fact that you have a label group,
yeah,
but you specifically chose to release these albums on different labels.
Mm-hmm.
What went behind that thinking, and what are you trying to develop with the Akon label group?
Well, this is the thing, when I was really active, at the time I had 3 labels at the same time, just in 3 different buildings, you know. I had myself signed to Upfront Convict, which was my label deal at Universal. I had T-Pain signed to Convict Music, which was at Jive. And then I had Lady Gaga signed to Con Live, which was at Interscope. So I already had literally 3 labels at that time, just in 3 different buildings. And the hardest part was trying to get all 3 buildings to work together for my purpose, my agenda. Because now I had to deal with the bureaucracy, the politics that come with it, to the point where I couldn't even clear my own vocals on my own artists. You know what I mean? Like, so I had to figure out a way to where I can actually do it. And then me personally, I always wanted to just be able to release a lot of different type of music from different parts of the genres. Because back when I was at Universal, I wanted to put out a Latin album, and they looked at me like I was crazy. Like, man, are you crazy? So, after, fast forward after all the success and the technology kind of moved towards, more playlisting, it's a possibility now I can be able to have 4 different labels, 4 different genres, and put out 4 different albums in all those genres and actually release them without having to deal with, a man telling me what and what I can't do. So that was one of the main reasons, but more so than that, I travel so much and I always meet and see and experience so many different artists from different parts that just, to me, are incredible. And I always wanted to have that, platform to be able to sign these artists and actually put them out.
That was my next question that I wanted to segue to, is do you feel that you were underrated as someone who finds talent? Because the names that you've called so far, Wizkid, Davido, Lady Gaga, T-Pain, it's an incredible list. So you're really finding a lot of talent that is sustained success. How do you feel about that?
Actually, I kind of like it like that. There's a saying that says, you can't stop what you can't see coming. And one thing I do notice about the music industry, if you got too much on you, there's going to be some kind of way they're going to yank your chain and kind of hold you back. You know what I mean? So
I kind of like the fact that I do a lot of the incognito behind the scenes. It keeps me in power. You know, the man behind the scenes is always the one with all the power. He's always the plainest guy in the room that you'll never even notice. He's the one that's making all the calls, all the shots. But I think when you put yourself in that position, and then me also being an artist, I never wanted to threaten another artist and have him feel like, oh, because he's an artist, he's gonna focus on himself when he's gonna focus on me. You know what I mean? So I always kept a lot of that behind.
Or are you doing the production on the Latin side as well?
Yeah, I'm doing production on that side as well.
You don't ask me that sarcastic.
No. Everything you hear, that's what it is. But you know, I also have a co-producer on the Latin side. His name is Mafio. He's a producer that I picked up that's been kind of slowly grinding in that scene, but I just saw the potential of what he does. And like, yo, come on, let's do this project together, because he had no experience as to the sonics of certain things in that genre. So we definitely collaborated with that album for sure. But the Latin album has the most features, only because it's something, first of all, I always wanted to do. And the features, I needed features to validate, being that this is a brand new market. You know, my African in the genre speaking, like the whole album is in Spanish. From top to bottom, the whole album is in Spanish. So I think it was important for those collaborations, so people know how deeply rooted I was in it, because everybody that's collaborated in it with me is people that I started with from the top. I mean, from their bottom, to their top.
Okay, you say it's a Latin project. Is there certain regions within the Latin community that you touched on? Is it certain countries that you specifically, that's the music that I want to get into?
Oh yeah, I mean, the whole vibe is in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Colombia right now, I mean, Mexico. I mean, we take a little bit of Cadulo from Brazil. Like, I went in deep.
Okay.
Yeah, I went in deep.
Okay, so that's something else to look forward to.
Definitely.
Wow, so much more music, man. Before we get back into the music, you went away from the scene for a minute, and I won't say disappeared, because we got reports of Akon building infrastructure in Africa, and Akon doing cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But it's never really too clear. You know, you get media outlets saying this with a blast here and there. In your own words, tell us when you took a step back from the music, which it never seemed like you did actively, but when you wasn't releasing music, what were you working on?
Well, let me put it this way. After my last release in the U.S., I went to Africa to build the African scene there musically. But in the process of doing that, I got heavily involved in energy. And energy kind of led me into infrastructure. Then when I started building infrastructure, I started to realize just how much of the economy in Africa needed to be built up, period. We had a lot of digital platforms, but none of it actually worked and correlated with the infrastructure that was currently being built there. So that's when I decided to create the Akon, which is the financial piece of the infrastructure that I wanted to actually add within the infrastructure that we were currently doing. And what I realized about the African currency is that a lot of the currencies were available, but they just didn't have no power. You know, when it came, the dollar kept dropping up and down. Like, there's no real leverage power within it, because a lot of the minerals and resources that's in those countries are not really managed by the people themselves. It's managed by foreign countries. So they could never leverage those resources. So through cryptocurrency, we was able to utilize and create a system that would allow all of those resources to be managed by the people themselves. And now put, a value on that, those resources, to where we can be able to challenge it and then be able to utilize to trade it through the Akon system.
Okay. Going back before we got to the Akon topic, the energy topic, what exactly was it? I've heard reports about, let's say, I've seen one report where it said Akon got $1 billion credit line. And sometimes you see things like that and it seems a little bit exaggerated.
Yeah.
So you don't pay that much attention to it. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the energy business that you were into, and what did it provide for the people in Africa?
Right, so it started off as a philanthropy project where I was just donating lights, solar lights, and solar mini grids to home systems in Africa. Then it turned from philanthropy to an actual business. then I started my own energy company. So we became the biggest and the largest solar provider utility company in Africa. But that all stemmed because I was getting a lot of my supplies from China. So when I went to China, I realized how much supplies they actually had in China that they had built for U.S. use. But U.S. had put a 200% tax on all the solar products there, so they couldn't even use it. So I was able to cut a deal with the Chinese to be able to utilize all those factories, all those, solar, products and materials for Africa. And that's how they ended up working out a deal with me to give me that $1 billion credit line for all those properties there to be able to utilize it for all the stuff that I'm doing with Akon Lighting Africa and Africa.
Well, so that was a fact.
Yeah.
I was sitting here thinking it was an exaggeration.
That's a fact.
Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Now, me, I'm not up to speed on the cryptocurrency. So touching back on that for a minute. For the average person in different African nations, what is the Akon project actively doing for them to help these individual countries?
All right, so normal times when people mention cryptocurrency, everybody get confused because they start mentioning blockchain and all this stuff that's so technical that the average person wouldn't have a clue of. I always look at it as just another type of currency. Like, right, so you got the dollar, you got the pound, you got the euro, and you got the crypto, right? So if I was to take my dollar and I go to the UK and then I trade it in to spend it, I can't spend the actual US dollar. So I gotta trade it in for pounds. And they give me whatever the pound is worth at that moment, and that's what I use to spend when I'm going in, right? So look at that the same way with crypto. The only difference is crypto is a digital coin, right? That goes in a wallet, just like your Apple Pay or just like your Cash App or whatever the case that is. So you can always be able to transfer that coin into actual fiat currency, which is regular dollar, and then spend it however you want to spend it. Now, how that makes an impact in Africa is because now Africa will have its own currency. So we don't have to depend on the francophone or deal with all the other colonized countries that came in and gave us their dollar.
Okay.
We create our own dollar, but it's a digital coin that's already going to be activated through every cell phone throughout Africa. And as you know, everybody in Africa got a cell phone, so it's only 2 billion cell phones that will be able to transact.
Wow.
Okay.
Big.
We are gonna go to commercial break in a few minutes, but before we do that, I want to touch back on some off of the Connect album. That's that Can't Say No. You got that one in the clip, right?
Yeah, that's the current single we just put out.
That's the current single. So we're gonna go into that, go into the commercial break, and come back and touch on some more Akon. We're not letting him out.
Let's get it.
Lock the door, Trevor. Lock the door.
Let's go.